All right, the very first thing that we've done is actually drilled out the rivets, and we have used a 5/32 drill bit to drill out the rivets and pulled off the cap. And inside you can see that the spring broke loose from this, but we are replacing the ZipDee Awning Spring. All right, so we're replacing Johnny's ZipDee spring and his awning. As you can see, it broke at the very beginning there. We drilled out the rivets with a 5/32 drill bit.
And the spring was still under tension. When it broke, you can see how it bent and it wedged itself in the tube. So we had to be very careful pulling out. So what we did was we took this chain and I stood back several feet before we pulled it out. And then it did its full unwind. There was no tension on the cross arms at all. So you got to be very careful. Even though you pull it out and it's broke like this spring can still be wound up, especially if it's bent in this position. That's the position it was stuck inside the tube right there.
Okay, we slid the spring in, and it did get stuck about 3/4 of the way in, and we had to kind of work on it to kind of get it around the rivets and the trash that's in there. So don't be shocked if you kind of run into that. Just keep working on getting the spring in. It may take a little bit of just pulling the spring and pushing the spring and working with it, but eventually it does go in there.
Okay, we've slid the spring back in place. Now we're going to drill one hole and put in the first rivet to hold this bracket to the tube. Then we'll drill each individual hole and put a rivet in as we go. So we don't want to try to line, you don't want to drill all 4 holes and then try to line it up.
So Johnny, what size drill bit did you use there?
That was a 3/16 drill bit. And it's in the instructions, so if you order directly from ZipDee, you'll get the instructions and the rivets. Put the rivet in the gun, hold it in place, and squeeze. Uh-oh.
Squeeze twice, Johnny. And squeeze until it breaks. Until the rivet, there you go.
The rivet snaps off. And you're done. Yeah. Then we'll go back and do each individual hole, and we'll come back in just a moment when we start tensioning up the spring. The next thing we're going to do is tension the spring, and the instructions call for 1 turn for every foot length of tubing, plus 7 extra turns at the end. This is a 21-foot awning. We're going to put 28 turns on it. We're back to put the tension on the new spring in our awning. Measure twice, put tension once. We remeasured. This awning's actually 22 feet long, so we're going to put 22 plus 7, 29 turns in it. And be very careful. It starts off easy, but every turn it gets a little tighter and a little tighter. Clockwise. Use the whole arm. Don't try to do it with just this, because once you get it cranked down really tight, it'll be very difficult to hold.
And the instructions state clearly use the arm. So follow the instructions. This is dangerous.
2.
And follow the
3.
warnings. The other thing is, I want to just point out that Johnny and I have set things out so that when we get to the end and there's 29 turns on it, that, you know, one of us is holding it and the other one's, you know, going to be putting stuff together and helping get this thing attached back to the bus. We'll be back shortly.
Okay, here's the finished new spring install on our ZipDee awning. One thing we recommend that we didn't do earlier and we realized about halfway through, go ahead and put the upper arm on here it'll still turn. You can still put your the correct number of turns in it. But if you don't, as soon as you get about halfway through, the awning wants to start trying to retract on its own. So go ahead and install these on both ends of your awning before you start putting the tension on there, and that'll help make things easier. And we're fixing to roll it back up. Give us just a minute to undo all our arms, put everything back in place, and we'll show you how our new awning goes back up the way it should. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. We're putting it up. You can see it rolls in nice and tight. We've got to get our locks in place. Just remember, if you do this, it really helps to have two people, and be very careful when you're spinning the tension onto your spring, because it is dangerous. Have a good day.